How to do it. Let me show you how to do it.
Good morning, guys. So this weekend I'm kind of working on my old air conditioning system. Something went bad, so I kind of troubleshoot, but I thought this was a great opportunity for me to kind of teach you guys the very basics of troubleshooting and kind of like the wiring, how this outside condenser unit is all wired up. There are a bunch of videos, but nobody really covers every single detail in one video. So this is what I'm going to try to do in one video. I'm going to try to teach you everything about the wiring and what you can do to troubleshoot your air conditioning unit if it's not running by yourself. So let me tell you the basics of how the whole wiring system works. It's very, very simple, guys. Believe it or not, very simple. So, there's two main components. One of them is your fan motor that runs, and the other one is your compressor, and that's it. These are the two, and both of these have 3 wires coming from each of them. Some of the fans have 4 wires, but nothing to worry about. I'll show you everything about that. So compressor mainly have 3 wires coming from there. There are 3 windings. I'm not going to get into too much detail about windings and stuff. This video is mainly focused on the wiring and how it works and how to wire the whole system, troubleshoot. So the 3 wires that's coming from your compressor, you will see one of them is kind of like blue or purple in some cases. The other one is yellow and black. So sometimes you'll see white and black. That's completely fine, but normally you'll have 2 wires, which is white black, yellow black, red black. Those are the 2 power wires. The other wire is a little bit thin. In my case is blue. In some case you might see purple or any other color. And the blue wire is basically your capacitor wire. So let me show you exactly where it comes. Don't worry about the rest of the wiring. My panel is powered off. There's normally a breaker or some kind of fuse puller outside right next to the unit by your cord, so you may want to pull that out and kill the power to it before you work or do anything about it. So mine is already powered off, so I can touch any of this. Let's get into the basic before I show the wiring. But this is the capacitor, and capacitor is basically gives you like a kickstart to your motor and your compressor. Sometimes you'll see 2 capacitors. One of them is used for fan, the other one is used for compressor, or you can have a 3 terminal capacitor, which is basically one is common. One of them you'll see says HERM, HERM, and normally on the HERM you'll see 3 terminals. On the common you will see 4 terminals, and on the fan, which is the corner one where the brown wire is, you will see only 1 terminal. And sometimes the reason I'm kind of covering this is because sometimes it's very hard to read these letters on there, so you cannot really tell if it says HERM or whatever it says on there, HERM, common, and fan. So if it's too hard for you to know what it is, the best way to find out is go by this is standard. 4 is common, 3 is HERM, 1 is 1, or sometimes there is 2 is your capacitor. Normally I've seen 1, and this is on a 3 terminal capacitor, and on the capacitor rating is kind of hidden over here, but you'll see 2 microfarad values. One of them is your fan. The very first one is normally a bigger number, which is mainly for your compressor, and the other one is a smaller number, which is normally 5, which is for your fan. So these fans run on 5 or 6 microfarad. Normally 5 is the standard, and that's pretty much it. So these 3 wires, so this is the blue wire that is coming from the compressor, and you can see it's connected to the HERM. What that means is this is where it's getting its capacitance from. See, this is too tight. Shouldn't be that tight. But anyways, the reason it is connected to this terminal is because this is the capacitor wire, and this is the same wire, that blue wire that you see coming from the compressor. See that blue wire? That is the same wire. Now, what about the other 2 wires, the yellow and the black wire that is coming from the compressor? So those wires, the yellow and black, they come right here, and they go right here on the top of this contactor. Contactor is a very simple device. All it does is see these 2 wires? These are your AC 24 volt AC wires that are coming from your unit from the inside, which is providing the evaporator coil, the fan, and all that stuff. There's a little bit more wiring in there, but I'm not going to get in there right now. We'll cover that in a different video. But see this wire, this is kind of like, you can call it a signal wire, and this gives the command for the outside unit to turn on. So when the unit is turned on from inside, you should always have 24 volt AC over here. So kind of troubleshooting, if your AC is not working, you can measure voltage, but we'll cover that later. But basically, once this voltage comes in, it picks up this contactor basically, and what this does is, see this thing right there, this is what's picking up. Right now the unit is not turning on because everything is powered off. So basically this plunger plunges in and picks up, basically makes these two go together and these two go together. Sometimes they're working on both sides voltage. In my case, this is a direct voltage, meaning that the plunger does not work on this side. This is always connected, so it's the same terminal basically, and there's it's waiting for the other leg to come hot, and that's what basically provides power. So normally your voltage is coming right from here. There's two wires, 220 comes in at the bottom, and these two blue wires that you see, these are the 220 volts wires. So 110 leg, 110 leg, that's 220 providing powers at the bottom. This leg always stays hot because this is one way connected throughout, and this leg basically is waiting for this plunger to pick up, and the AC is not going to come on until this plunger is picked up. The way the plunger picks up is because of getting that 24 volt AC. So imagine you give a signal from your thermostat to turn it on. This is going to pick it up, pushes this plunger in, bring 220 volts right there on these two legs. Remember, one leg is already hot, so it's just waiting for one leg, so it's bring 120 is already there. And now let's get into the compressor wiring. So we already talked about this wire. The two wires that you see is right there, the yellow and the front black right there. So this is a black and this is a yellow, and you can see they're not on the same leg, they're on two separate ones on top, not at the bottom, on top. What happens when you connect it in the bottom? The compressor is going to stay on all the time. It's not going to wait for this. So you want to make sure it is on the other side of your power cable. So the power comes in here, plunger waiting for the plunger, the command. It's connected on top, and this is what provides power. So forget about the fan. Imagine you send a command, the plunger picks up, brings in power, gives power to these two guys, and this is connected to the capacitor, and your compressor should come on. So that's simple. Now let's get to the fan. So on the fan, sometimes you'll see these two wires. These are kind of like the rotation wires, and if you swap these, it'll change the direction of the fan to turn either this way or this way. Normally you should be blowing the air out, so as long as you're getting the air out, that's good. But if you're not feeling any air and the fan is turning, that means your rotation is wrong. So you may want to swap those two, unplug that, plug it, and unplug those two, and just kind of swap it, and that will fix your problem. So that's simple. You shouldn't really need to worry about anything about this at any time, because all that should be working. But same thing, it's kind of hard to see, but you see wires coming in from here, and those are, in my case, I have 4 wires. I have a brown one, I have a brown white, then I have a black, and then I have a white. So let me show you exactly where it comes. So this is my brown wire. Now my brown wire is always going to the capacitor. So you remember that one terminal that we had on the capacitor? This is where your brown wire is going to connect, and that's your capacitor wire. I had to join it because I didn't have slack in there. So that's your brown wire. Now let's talk about the two wires, the white and the black. So here's my white wire, exact same wiring as the compressor. The white will go on one leg and the black will go on the other one. So it does not matter how you connect it. You can connect one here and one over there, or one over there, one over there. Doesn't matter. There's no polarities in this case. It's all AC voltage, so there's no polarities in AC voltage. So again, one goes on one leg, the other one goes on the other one. Just make sure you kind of pair it up. So basically on one leg you should have 2 wires. One of them should be your black from the fan, the other one should be black from the compressor. You know, keep it simple, just keep the blacks together. The other one should be, you know, either if you have white, in my case it's white and yellow, and those two go together. Now, of course, we need to wire this guy as well. You cannot just leave it hanging with one wire connected to the blue and the other one to the brown. So what we have is on the common, we need to grab, you know, one of the legs from the common. So what we normally do is, in my case, since, you know, you have one contactor which is waiting for the command, you don't want this leg to be connected to your common. You want the other one that is always getting power to be connected to your capacitor. So you can see I have a jumper going from the common to the side right there, which is always hot. So again, everything is de-energized, so you know, even though I'm touching it, it's completely fine because everything is de-energized. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if your system was ever energized and you did not wait long enough, you might have voltage on the capacitor, so you don't want to bridge on the terminal because you will get shocked. So if you turn your system off, I would recommend leave it off for like half an hour or so before you work on it, if you don't know what you're doing, because it could be dangerous and you can get yourself zapped even though the power is off. Okay, so we talked about the compressor. A quick recap: 2 wires, one wire coming from compressor will go at the arm, the blue one normally. The other wire, brown, coming from the fan will go on the fan. The common one will be jumper to the contactor on the energized side, which is energized at all the time from the bottom straight down. And then we'll have 2 wires coming from the compressor, which will connect one over here, one over there. Same thing, 2 wires coming from the fan will connect one over here, one over here. Polarities don't matter. Even if you swap the black and the yellow, wouldn't matter. And that is it. And these 2 wires are the signal wire that are coming from the inside indoor unit. And that is it, guys. As simple as this. So, you know, this is the basic wiring of HVAC outside condenser unit. So in my next video, I'm going to be covering the troubleshooting and all that stuff. So stay tuned. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to see the troubleshooting video. And thanks for watching.